Hey, how's it going? So I actually recorded my video for today, and then I found out about the news that Tucker Carlson of Fox News had been fired. He is off the air, and this is clearly a firing, okay? If he had been eased out, it would have been announced, and it would have been a couple of months or something like that. No. In this case, it was clearly a firing on the part of Fox News, even though they're saying that they parted ways, which is polite speak, okay? I can't believe it. I'm in total shock, and let me explain why. For those of you outside the United States, you might not understand this, but Tucker Carlson is this right-wing newscaster on Fox News, which is one of the big four television networks in the United States, the mainstream media. And Tucker Carlson started his career in the mid-90s was the first time that I sort of like heard about him. He was on Crossfire, which was like a political discussion, conversational, argumentative kind of show. Anyway, the point is that Tucker Carlson has had a long career, and he has been the only mainstream anchorman who's been pushing back on all the craziness and the insanity and the lies that the regime has been pushing with its propaganda arms in the mainstream media. He was the last voice of sanity, because a lot of people say that he's a fascist, that he's evil, right-wing, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually listen to any of his broadcasts, several things emerge. Number one, he is factually accurate as to what he is saying. He's scrupulously so. And the fact that so many people are gunning for him forces him, rather, to be as scrupulous as possible as to the actual facts, as to his interpretation of the facts. His interpretations are not outside what would have been centrist mainstream in the United States back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's the last time I lived in the United States, and so I have clear memories of more or less what was the acceptable centrist view. Not right-wing, just centrist. And his views, his opinions about the facts of the day were pretty much on point. Here's something else too. His show was the most popular of all the network broadcast shows, by far. His audience regularly had more people watching it than the next 2, 3, or even 4 shows combined. He was huge. He was the most popular guy. To lose him is to lose enormous ad revenue. And so they are willing to sacrifice money for the sake of staying in good with the regime. Because ultimately, what Tucker Carlson was about being in opposition to the regime that is installed in Washington, the uniparty that lies all the time. One of the things that he was banging the drum about all the time, which is of course something that I bang the drum about, is the Nord Stream pipeline. But the Americans did it. It's pretty goddamn obvious. And he was shining a spotlight on that. He would bring on people like Glenn Greenwald, who is a gay left-winger, but same as Tucker Carlson, he is a centrist. And it's interesting, by the way, parenthetically, that Greenwald, myself, and Tucker Carlson, I'm not putting myself in that company, certainly not. I'm just a minor YouTuber. But we're all of the same generation. And so we were all equally outraged by the insanity going on in Western society today. And Tucker Carlson would have Glenn Greenwald on all the time, even though politically on a lot of issues they were totally in opposition to one another, but they were both in favor of the truth. Because this is the issue here. It's the truth. It was the only network broadcast that was putting out the truth about things, about the reality of the world around us. The only one. And they got rid of him. This is a key moment, because now what you're going to see in the mainstream media across the board is just complete propaganda. You will not see any kind of realism in the mainstream media from here on out, because there isn't going to be somebody like Tucker Carlson with a big audience who can push back on the lies of the regime. The regime is going to double down on its lies and tell more and more enormous lies, because there's going to be nobody in a position with the popularity and the numbers to give any kind of pushback. This is a catastrophe for the United States and, by extension, the rest of the West. This is a disaster, and it seems trivial because you say, well, who gives a shit about one lone broadcaster? Hey, fuck off, right? Wrong, 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 wrong. Because now, insofar as the regime is concerned and its control of the mainstream media, the network television stations, the big prestige newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post, they're going to be spouting just lies. And there is nobody in any position in the legacy media that will be able to say, no, these lies are lies. This is not the truth. This is a disaster. I mean, I can go on and on about what will happen in terms of the business, but the big thing for me is that now the propaganda and the lies will be relentless. And they will try to gaslight people about everything. Everything. The excess deaths, they're going to say that there are no excess deaths. The hyperinflation of the dollar, oh, there's no hyperinflation of the dollar, it's transitory. The needless escalation of the war against Russia, oh, there's no escalation, we're just supporting democracy and freedom. The upcoming war with Saudi Arabia, oh, there's no problem there. We're just doing a policing action. The war with China. Oh, we have to defend democracy in Taiwan, even though it's not in our national interest, but we have to. You see, it's the last dam preventing the lies from wiping away all of the United States informational space. This is a disaster. You know, I mean, I'm just really... I'm really flabbergasted. I can't believe this shit. And, you know, wherever Tucker Carlson goes, I mean, I'm not particularly worried about the guy. I don't know him, number one. And number two, wherever he lands, he'll land fine. You know, he's got a huge audience that will follow him if he goes to some private platform, Substack, a YouTube channel, whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter what he does. He'll be successful. But his reach will be drastically limited by definition. Instead of having 4, 5, or 6 million viewers per day, he'll have 1 million, 2 million a day, which is still extraordinarily respectable, but it doesn't have the impact, especially because he was in a mainstream news outlet that inherently gave him prestige that he will no longer enjoy. And because of that, fewer people will listen to the truth that he has to say, and more lies will come out from the regime to pretend that things are not as they are. And they will repress more. They are going to repress more. Not just in the mainstream media, but also on social media. If they got rid of Tucker Carlson, they can get rid of anybody. And they will. Understand what's going on.